Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. I am Jen, and I'm head of marketing for Making. My pronouns are she, her, and my Making app username is Knit Pearl. We are day 3 Flock Fiber Festival, day 2 of our vendor interviews, and I'm super excited to be here with Ashleigh. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, I am Ashleigh. I am the owner and dyer for Sewrella Yarn. We are a hand-dyed yarn company based in Raleigh, North Carolina, and we kind of cater to the entire knitting and crochet experience. We have a full market full of things that we make in-house. We have our own line of knitting needles and crochet hooks. We kind of do it all, but I consider myself, in addition to being a dyer, a bit of a storyteller, because the way that we create collections and create colorways is with a lot of emotion and a lot of story behind it. So yeah, that's a bit about what I do.
That's awesome. Okay, so I just overheard you chatting with somebody in your booth, and you said that this is your very first show.
Yes.
That's amazing. Why did you choose Flock?
Well, this being the very first year of this event took a lot of the pressure off, because I wasn't entering an established festival that's been there for 10 years or 20 years.
Yeah.
I knew that even though there would be seasoned vendors here, it would be their first time at Flock too.
Yeah.
So that made it a lot easier to say yes. I also know Jess, the organizer, fairly well, and she asked me if I would be interested when it was still kind of just an idea.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to support her and see her be successful with it. I had no idea that it would get this big. I did not know what I was in for in terms of like the logistics, because I'd never done a show at all. So I was like, yeah, Seattle sounds good. But I'm in North Carolina, and I didn't think about how much more complicated it would be with the distance. You know, there are fiber festivals in North Carolina. I started there.
Yeah.
But honestly,
you went big. Yeah.
This one being the first one, we worked out every kink possible, and now it's just fun. Like I
100%.
won't stress about future festivals, because I've done all of it with this one.
Yeah.
So.
I think, who was I talking to yesterday? Hello, Lavender. And
I love her.
Love her.
Cutie.
We talked about how, like, when you're running your own business or doing anything, you know, whether it's even just like creating or crafting, failure is not a thing. Like, you're just learning, right?
Yes.
Nothing is a failure. It's just a learning. And then you know what to do for the next thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
There is no such thing as failure. Like, what is that? There's no way to measure it. There's no way to definitively say this is failure and this is not. It's a mindset.
Yeah.
And you can turn that off. You can be out of a failure mindset.
Yeah.
And I think people forget that that's a choice. It's just like joy or inspiration or anything else. It's not a set of rules. It's a set of options, and you can choose what you want to experience, and suddenly it becomes your reality.
This is our first time, like, the app being places, and I've definitely learned a lot from this, but we've had other festivals already reach out to us and be like, can you do that at our festival? Nice. And I'm like, yes, I love this.
That's what we love to see. And honestly, any amount of progress, any forward movement, even if it's tiny, even if it's one more person that's interested in what you're doing, or one more piece of encouragement, it adds up over time. 100%. That's what makes the difference and builds a business.
Yeah. And this community at Flock, everyone has just been so fantastic. So that also helps.
It has been, every single person has been so kind, so patient. It's been the perfect first festival experience in terms of like the guest interaction, other vendors too. I've got no notes. Let's do it again next year.
Let's do it again. So this was something that was from your bio, and I want to talk more about it.
Okay.
If you stopped by our little studio in Apex, North Carolina, you'd find a group of strong, creative women listening to the best early 2000s playlist and laughing so hard we don't know how our work gets done. So one, how can I get an invite? And two, what is on this 2000s playlist?
Okay. Invites always open.
Okay,
we are always hiring.
Very good.
But you're very busy with the making app.
Yeah. I mean, I might just stop by. We'll just party. Yeah.
That's fine. We have room.
Cool.
Yeah, our playlist it's very eclectic. We have probably about a dozen girls working at the studio at this point. So everybody brings a little something different to the table. But I mean, I've heard everything at the studio from like A Day to Remember, from that to Taylor Swift to classic rock to Simple Plan to country and indie and like
I love it.
For it all. There's
I love
a lot
it.
of early 2000s because a lot of us are in our late 20s. So that's our like nostalgic comfort music. I've been known to play a little Britney Spears. I'm not going to lie.
I mean, there is nothing wrong with that.
All kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Really everything.
Yeah.
It's really fun. It's fun to get to the studio in the morning and some of them get there a little earlier and to be like, what's the vibes today? What are we playing?
Yeah.
What's on? Yeah, it's really fun.
That's awesome.
It's such a great environment. Everyone there is so positive, and we've had the studio and we've had employees for 3 years now, and we have not had a single bad day at work ever. No matter what has happened, we've had, the wind taken out of our sails, but we've never had a bad day. And I think it's because of the people, it's very special.
I feel that for sure. Yeah. When you have a good team that cares, and you have your values and you're there for the reason, and you keep going back to that why you're doing it.
Yes.
And everybody's on the same page.
You're all there for the same reason. You're all passionate about what you're doing. You take it seriously, but not so seriously that you can't have fun. It's perfect. And I brought a few of them with me, and we're just having the best time.
Yeah. I heard you're going to Mount Rainier tomorrow.
I hope so. Yeah.
I love it.
The energy. I don't know why I was thinking. Fair. I know what I'll do after all of this. I'll hike. But maybe there'll be like a flat trail with a nice view.
If you have people who are not afraid of heights and are okay with driving. This is somebody who's afraid of heights, went to Mount Rainier, didn't realize it. So somebody else drive, you just lay down in the back seat.
Okay.
But if you go up to Sunrise, you can just wander around up there, but it's beautiful. When did your journey start as a maker? How did everything get sparked?
Okay, so this is a little bit of a sad story. Sorry to bring down the vibe. My great grandmother was super big crafter her whole life. She was like stay-at-home mom, the type that like meets you at the door with a bowl of ice cream. Okay.
We love grandma.
Yes. She was one of those people that did every kind of craft, and she would like have these phases where she would do like nothing but embroidery for like a year, and then she would leave it behind and she would do nothing but crochet, and then she even sewed like wedding dresses at one point. She was incredible. She sewed things for fashion shows. Like she just was like my idol. Yeah. When she was in her later years and was getting sick and not doing too well, I was in my like early college phase, and I've always been a creative person, but I hadn't really found crafting. I really liked creative writing, and I liked, doodling. So I knew I had that creative thing in me, but I hadn't like found a way to like bring it into my life in a meaningful way. And when she was getting sick, I knew that I wanted to look for something more substantial, but I had no idea what. So I was distraught and upset, and I went to the craft store, like from the hospital, went to the craft store. And I was wandering around. All of the areas of the craft store seemed very involved except for yarn. I was like, I can buy a skein and I can buy a pair of needles, and then I'm set, and I can try this, and it's low stakes, and it feels kind of like me. Everything's like, I was just gravitating toward that part of the store. So I took it home. I taught myself on YouTube to knit and crochet. And then, she is no longer with us, and I just kept doing it kind of to remember her through college. And then when I was pregnant with my oldest son, I was making a lot of things for the baby, and I was, very bored because I was not feeling too great. I was at home a lot, and I was kind of thinking that, I didn't have a clear career path. I was still kind of figuring it out at that point. And my now husband was actually kind of like, why don't you put this online? Because I wasn't following patterns. I was just kind of making up my own things. And he was like, I think you could post that. And I said, well, all right. And then by the time the baby was born, I had made enough money with my blog and my designs to pay a couple of my bills. And so I said, okay,
here we go.
I thought I'll keep doing it until I can't pay my bills. If it's not paying, my bills, then it'll be a hobby again. And
Yeah.
And I'll move on and I'll find something else. And that was 7 years ago. And now here I am at my first festival with a yarn company.
I love it.
Yeah. It's been a wild ride.
Yeah.
Sure. I never expected to wind up where I did.
I mean, it kind of sounds like grandma's like, hey, I'm still here. We're doing this together.
For sure. She's like, you're welcome.
Yeah. Here it is.
I've had a lot of luck in these 7 years. And part of me thinks like, is it luck or is it someone watching out for me?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Maybe a little bit of both, but yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I went to your website and I love your about page.
Thank you.
You talk about paid maternity leave and mental health days. You put your values out there. And as a company making, we are very loud about our values.
Yeah.
It's always nice to see others doing so.
Yes. It's important.
Yes. You know, the more people within our industry that does it, the more people outside of our industry as well. But, you know, if we're just talking here, it's so much better, right? Have you ever had people push back on your values? And if so, how did you handle it?
I've been met with a lot of support and encouragement, and I try to give that back into the community as well and support and encourage those around me.
Yeah.
Bigger companies than me, smaller companies than me. And I think honestly, like this festival is a perfect example of how different our community is than the world outside of us.
Yeah.
I have not been met with a lot of resistance. I think that I'm very lucky to not have been met with a lot of resistance. I think that a lot of other companies in our industry have had to have some really tough conversations and set a lot of boundaries. I hope that by putting it out there right from the get-go, people know where I stand and what we stand for. And, you know, thankfully I've felt I've been in the industry for 7 years. And when I started, it wasn't the way it is now. Even just in the last few years, there's been a real changing tide for so much for the better, but there's been so much more talk about inclusion and, you know, the love I think has just grown so much, like vendor to vendor, everyone is so supportive, and designers and people who make products, everything is just, I don't know. We're all so much more confident to say what we think and what we stand for and support each other. Yeah. And that wasn't talked about as much a few years ago.
It's true.
So I'm really, really grateful that the entire industry has kind of like together decided that this is what we're doing now. We're talking about the hard things. We're stating how we feel and we're all going to respect that. Yeah. And that's been mostly what I've experienced. Yeah. Which has been awesome. I've just been really lucky to have such an incredible audience and people that feel the same way, which is really, really great.
Making has been around for a long time, as I said, you know, as a magazine, and knowing Ashleigh and Carrie, I think that there was a time where they weren't as loud about their values, and it was never on purpose. I think it was just like, we're a magazine and we put these out. And then there was a definite shift within the community, and you know, they've very much stepped up and said, okay, it's time. We need to be talking about this. And I know from talking to Ashleigh that was like, it was a hard time in the way of like having to see people have a different opinion about just basic human rights, and that there were people who were within our orbit that were like that. And, but now they're not. And we're okay with that.
We've grown a lot since in the last 3 years of that 7 years that I've been in the industry. And I think that right when kind of the culture of the community started to shift is when we started getting really popular. I had, you know, a very small community, but it's grown a lot since then. And I think the community for our business, they think what we think, and we're kind of all on the same page.
When you're not making or running your business, what do you like to do that has nothing to do with crafts?
Why do people laugh?
Because they're like, well, I don't have time for that.
I have 3 little kids. Oh. So I have to have time for that. Yeah. It's very important. If I didn't have little kids, I probably would live and sleep and
Yeah.
I would just, sell my house and live at the studio.
Yeah.
But I don't have that option. I have twins that are 2 and I have a 7-year-old, and they would not allow me to work that much. I already think I work a lot, but I think compared to a lot of other companies, especially small businesses, I don't spend every single free minute either knitting or running the business.
Yeah.
I work really hard when I'm at work, and then I leave it. I leave it behind.
That's wonderful.
I mean, really anything with them, I'm always with them when I'm not at the studio.
Lots of kid stuff. Are you doing like lots of outdoor activities?
Yeah. We love the parks. We live in Raleigh, so there's a lot of, it's a very like, what do you call it? The climate is not extreme. What's the word for that?
Today's the wrong day to be asking me for words.
Truly.
Get there or we won't. And people understand it.
Yeah. It's a climate that's not extreme. There's a lot of beautiful, beautiful days, and there's a lot of outdoor activities. There's tons of parks. Mild.
We got there. We did it.
Mild climate. That's the triumph of the day. Finding that word. My gosh, you should be proud.
Thank you.
Yes, it's very mild. We spend a lot of time outside. I recently renovated my backyard to be like a kitchen garden.
Okay.
So I love gardening. I'm a grandma in a 29-year-old's body. Really.
I love it.
If I'm not knitting and doing yarn stuff, I'm gardening or I'm baking. I love baking. It feels kind of like knitting, like you follow directions and you have a nice finished result. Yeah. I'm a little type A. Can you tell?
Yeah.
Is it showing?
Is my type A showing? Yeah. You create an oopsie colorway. I want to hear more about that.
Yeah. So oopsies are something that we do oopsie sales like usually twice a year. And they are basically all of our test colorways that do not make it to be a finished colorway in a collection. So sometimes, like we just did, our last collection was the Eras collection inspired by Taylor Swift.
Yes.
And that one was huge. She's an icon. So, and she's
lots of things.
She's so of the moment, and she has so many different styles. And so trying to maintain our personal style, but then be inspired by all of these different pieces of music, all of her stage looks. There's so much content that she has to pull from, but it also made the recipe testing phase rather rigorous. It took us, usually we spend about 2 months developing a collection, and that one took us about 4.5. Wow. So it was a bigger collection than usual, but there was also a lot that just wasn't good enough. We redid the same theme a dozen times to get it right. So what oopsies are like all of those iterations to get us to the finished thing. Sometimes we also have extras, like we dyed too many or we mistakenly mixed up, the base or whatever. So we have a lot of extra things or, just basically everything that wasn't what the order was placed for. Yeah. But there's a lot of really special skeins that wind up in the oopsie sales because they're truly one of a kind.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
I also like the idea of, we're gonna utilize everything.
Yes. No waste.
No waste.
Absolutely not. Because the thing is, it may not be like if we're trying to make a colorway for a specific song. Yeah. And we know want it to look like, not everyone loves that song. Not everyone needs the song colorway. They may just love that version of purple. Yeah. Or that version of a, sky blue variegated. Yeah. It doesn't have to always be about what the theme is. And I think that's what's so beautiful about oopsies is they don't have a theme. They could be anything. It's up to the maker to decide what the story of that yarn is. Yeah. Yeah. Like a choose your own adventure kind of in a way. For some people, it's overwhelming to create the story because I think some people are like, I just want to knit a sweater. Yeah. Don't make me do homework. But for some people, it's liberating to have that amount of freedom. Yeah. So it depends on the person. But I just love that there's so many different avenues to take with these sorts of things. Like there's just so much creativity abounding. It's so beautiful to see. Yeah. I love being part of it. It's probably my favorite part of my job is being able to, making yarn is really great. Working with the girls at the studio is really great, but being able to provide inspiration for people as a career. Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't get better than that.
It doesn't.
It doesn't.
What is next for the company? Is there anything happening that you are able to like spill the tea and share a secret? I keep asking everybody this just because some people have, and it's like kind of fun to be the first one to know. But you don't have to. You can just, yeah.
I will. We're working on a really big project right now. It will be like another year.
Yeah.
It is a new category for us. It's still yarn, but it's a different category.
Ooh.
So it's something we've never done before, but it's one of the reasons that I moved from blogging for gigantic yarn companies.
Yeah.
And why I went independent was so that I could do this thing I'm doing next.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, keep an eye out. Where can everybody find you?
SewrellaYarn.com. We're very active on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
So at Sewrella Yarn is where you'll find us.
Things are happening.
They are. We're really excited. We're still in the very early testing phases, but you know, we found the people to help us make it happen, which was, I think, a huge milestone toward it actually happening.
If you are not a part of the Making App community, definitely join the amazing humans here at Flock Festival. Like that's the same feeling you get when you open the Making App, because it's just creativity and inspiration scrolling through the feed. So if you haven't joined yet, go to themakingapp.com, download, join, and also check out our podcast, Making Conversation. Thank you so much for joining. It's been really awesome getting to know you. And I don't know, I feel like we're all going to be besties after this.
Yeah.
We already are.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
It's mutual.
I'm going to come to your studio and we're going to listen to the 2000s playlist.
I'm
you can put me to work.
I can't wait to see what you add to it. Honestly.
Oh yeah.
You seem like you have some good, good jams.
I do. Get ready for emo.
I'm here for it.
Awesome. All right, y'all. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.
Bye.